Hey guys, so today's video is going to be another update type video where I have a few things I want to talk about. First off, recently I made a video talking about how I'll no longer be using the Unity engine anymore once I'm finished up with whatever projects I'm working on due to the new Unity runtime fee. If you want to learn more about that, there's tons of great videos out there that go into a lot of detail. Some videos I've seen go into a lot more detail than mine did, and why these changes Unity have made are bad, so be sure to go check them out. You can also additionally check out my video as well to get an idea of why I'll no longer be using the engine myself. I just do want to quickly also say that I won't be affected by the runtime fee anyway, since none of my games meet Unity's threshold. But I will be speaking a bit about why I'm still no longer using the engine for anybody who didn't check out my last video, so stay around for that. My video I made on the Unity situation ended up getting a lot more views than I thought it would have initially. I guess I should have expected it in a way, since I did make it during the height of all that drama, but it did surprise me. I've had a couple of you guys worried that I may be affected by Unity's new changes and that I may have to pay this runtime fee, and no, don't worry, I'm not a big indie developer, I'll be fine. I'm under Unity's threshold to pay the Unity runtime fee. However, I'm still no longer going to be using the engine since I don't want to risk my future potential success and have to worry about paying Unity a fee per install on my games in the future, especially since there's a bunch of loopholes which can be exploited by malicious people who might want to try bankrupt an indie dev they don't like. This whole Unity situation made me further realize the importance of open source game engines as well. I've always liked open source stuff, but when it comes to game engines, I've always stuck with Unity since it's what I know best. And Unity has already had its own pricing before this runtime fee thing too. There was Unity Personal, Plus, Pro, and Enterprise. Both the Personal and Plus versions had their own yearly revenue caps in which you would then have to upgrade to a higher tier. A more simpler pricing structure that's easier to understand, but now with this new runtime fee, that just adds upon the price that Unity Plus and Pro users are paying, since they're already paying to use the engine, and it makes the pricing much more confusing too. Unity Personal Edition users, in my opinion, are hit the hardest by this change, seeing as the runtime fee stays at 20 cents no matter how much installs a game gets. Meanwhile, the higher tiers have their fee lowered depending on the download amount. After this whole Unity situation, I'm definitely going to try out Godot when I get the time too, because it'll be something new, and plus I won't have to worry about paying a corporation money from the revenue generated on my games per install on a new device. As I said in my last video as well, even if Unity did fully reverse this decision and turn it back, I still most likely wouldn't go back since my trust with them is very low, and the fact that they pulled this in the first place was definitely not a decision made with game devs in mind. They also said that only about 10% of developers will be affected by the runtime fee, but that 10% of developers is still a very large amount of developers. According to a community note on Unity's post on Twitter, Unity has about 230,000 people who use it, and 10% of that is 23,000, so 23,000 developers would be affected by this runtime fee. Not just a few hundred developers, 23,000. Something else I forgot to mention too is how Unity actually removed the Unity Plus subscription, which was the lowest paying tier that allowed you to remove the Unity watermark and gave you a yearly $200,000 cap in revenue before you had to pay for the Pro version. And now Unity Plus is gone, meaning the cheapest tier is Unity Pro, which is a lot more expensive, meaning that if you want to just remove the Unity watermark, for example, you need to cough up more money to do so. One last thing I'd like to mention as well is how in Unity's terms and conditions, I believe, or their terms of service or whatever it is, it actually mentions how new Unity terms and conditions don't apply to older versions of Unity. However, Unity's latest changes they're making will apply to all versions of Unity, therefore going against their own terms of service or terms and conditions, whatever the thing that mentions it is. Something else I actually forgot to mention is how the Unity Twitter account recently put out a post which makes some people believe they may walk back on a couple things in the runtime policy, but as I said, even still then, I'm still gonna be using another engine either way. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about on that whole Unity scenario. Most of you guys who watch me won't have to worry about your Unity games incurring the runtime fee at all, most likely, unless you meet their threshold, of course, but that's only if your game is both financially in the last 12 months and install-wise lifetime successful. If you want to watch more videos on this situation, as I said earlier on, there are a ton of good videos out there. And also, thanks to everybody who has watched my Unity tutorials over the last while. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that my tutorials have helped out a lot of you guys get into game development and whatnot. As I mentioned in my last video, talking about the situation, I may make tutorials again in the future. It just won't be Unity tutorials, and I want to wait till I properly get the hang of a new engine like Godot. And as I mentioned in my last video talking about this too, my Unity tutorials, if you guys still want to watch them, will be kept up and available for you guys to watch in case you don't want to stop using Unity, because I can totally understand that if you're someone who doesn't plan to try become successful or who just uses the engine for fun. The last project I'm currently making in Unity is URLEM Shadow Memories, which I will have a demo coming out on Itchio for, plus it will be available to purchase on Steam. It does suck that this Unity stuff had to happen while still making this game, because I'm seeing other game devs being able to just find a bunch of time to play around in another engine. Meanwhile, I'm still here working on whatever I'm left working on in Unity still. But yeah, once URLEM Shadow Memories releases, that will be my last Unity game, and then I can finally focus more on newer projects in another engine, most likely Godot. Also, another thing I'm still working on at the moment is version 1.1 for Bodhi and Friends. This update has taken me longer than I thought, but I have been trying to make sure that it is as quality as possible, and I've been testing it a lot too. I've been thinking that I've just been over-testing it, but it is good to thoroughly test things. The last update I'll be doing for Bodhi and Friends will most likely be version 1.2, or it could be version 1.1. I guess it just depends on certain factors. Also, if you haven't checked out my game Bodhi and Friends already, be sure to. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to, of course, but if you want to, you can buy it on Steam or Itchio. The links are in the description. Also, last thing I want to talk about today is I released a new free game for the DreadXP BoJam called The Reset Job. It's a point-and-click style horror game where you have to reset 20 power switches whilst controlling a platform. It's free, so you lose absolutely nothing by trying it out, and yes, this is a Unity-made game. I didn't really have time to learn another engine properly before the jam started, so I decided to do the reset job in Unity and make it my second last Unity game. And so yeah, anyways guys, that's the end of this video. When it comes to what my next video will be, I'm not really too sure. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It most likely won't be a tutorial though, but yeah. But if you want to check out my games, be sure to go to omogonixlachlan.itch.io to go check out all my games. You can also go follow me on Twitter at Omogonix if you want to as well, which would be very much appreciated. And yeah, see you all soon, and bye bye.